Don't start till I push
In case
go.
you're wondering, the papers for last week are re-upped into Dropbox with yellow highlights and brackets and comments and a grade in there. I didn't get all of them done, so if your last name began with D through F or M, I didn't get to those, but they'll be back up and give me a couple days to finish on that. That's all of the comments I have to say. We're supposed to be going back to paper, because it's really impossible for me to read 97 papers online every week. So I know some people have been putting them back in Dropbox, because I see the little star that something has been inserted. So that's okay for this week if you did it, but next week let's go back to paper. Okay, today we have two people who came all the way from New York today. Amtrak was on time, so really happy about that. Their names are Ariel Elia, so you need to know how to spell these or look it up on the Sakai, and Emma McClendon. They're co-curators of an exhibition at the Fashion Institute of Technology that's called Fashion and Technology, and that's what they'll be talking to you about today. Just a little bit about their background. They'll be explaining a little bit more about this, but Emma, who's starting out, did her degree, her graduate degree at the Courtaulds Institute in London. That's one of the programs we didn't mention specifically, but it's focusing on art and fashion, and it's a long-established program that's very well respected in the field. And Ariel grew up in California and came east to go to the graduate program at FIT. So they'll maybe give you a little bit of information about that. So I'm going to let them get started.
Okay, hi, my name is Emma McClendon. I'm an assistant curator at the museum at FIT and co-curator of fashion and technology. Ariel and I are both going to be speaking to you today about different aspects of the exhibition. So just jumping right in, for this exhibition at the museum at FIT, it's open until May 8th, so I encourage you guys to, if any of you guys will be in New York before it closes, to come by and see it. We also have brochures up here for you guys to take. And there's a website for it as well for you guys to tweet and share comments and reactions to pieces in the show. But for this exhibition, since it opened in December, Ariel and I have been asked a lot sort of where we got the inspiration for this show, sort of why now with this topic. I think it's fair to say that technology is a very hot topic right now, not only in terms of fashion or even what the latest gadget can do, but in terms of a larger sociological issue of how technology is affecting the way we live our lives, from the way we consume information, objects, ideas, imagery. Technology is really having a drastic impact on our points of reference, as much as it is on the materials that we use to create objects. So we really wanted to focus and examine all of these different ways that technology and fashion have had an impact on each other throughout history. So for this exhibition, the term techno-fashion is used a lot today to refer to a predominantly 21st century phenomenon, but we wanted to look back at the relationship between fashion and technology that has continued to evolve in new directions over the past 250 years, really since the onset of the Industrial Revolution. So our goal with this exhibition was to put the current trend of fashion and tech within a historical context and really highlight many innovations that have become so commonplace now that they're largely taken for granted. Everything from the zipper to the at-home washing machine were each really cutting-edge innovations in their day that drastically transformed the nature of the fashion industry. And I'm going to jump right in and just show you how, curatorial-wise, we wanted to frame the exhibition within the current trend and really start out with a cross-section of how fashion and technology are interacting in many different ways right now. So as you see at the entrance point to the gallery, we have a video of Hussein Chalayan's Spring 2007 runway presentation. For this presentation, and I'll show you a video of it in a second, for the finale of it, he collaborated with the people that did the special effects for the Harry Potter films. to integrate the final 6 or so ensembles with robotic elements, so that, as you will see, the garments seem to move and transform by themselves on the models as they stand on the runway. Let's see if I can get this to work. Yes. Is it working? So what we're seeing here with these objects is really Schleien not only using technological hardware within the actual construction of the objects, but using the capabilities of these new technologies to, as a creative medium. So really sort of harnessing the performative aspect of these new technologies in his runway presentation. It's also quite interesting that with many of these ensembles that he's showing, he's using the robotic elements to transform them from one type of garment to another, and in some ways a garment that references one period in history to a garment that references another period in fashion history, so entirely transforming the silhouette of the ensemble. An important aspect with these as well is also just to point out the collaboration that's involved in them. So we have the designer on the one hand coming up with the form and the creative aspect of the design, and then the scientists and engineers working with the technological hardware on the other hand. So we're seeing this collaboration between scientists and designers much more often now in the creation of some of these techno-fashion innovations. This is probably the most famous of the pieces in this finale. I applaud the models in many ways during this presentation. I can't imagine what it would feel like to have a hat shrink on your head. So now, moving forward into the first room of the exhibition, we wanted to continue this cross-section of the current relationship between fashion and technology and show how technology is having an impact on the materials and production methods, but also with the influx of social media networks and other things on the global dissemination, branding also of fashion. So here on the first platform we have a 3D printed dress and bag from the Dutch design studio Freedom of Creation with an accompanying video that shows how it was made. I'll leave that for there because Ariel will be speaking to you a bit more about 3D printing in greater depth in a few minutes. But on the opposite wall we have a quite interesting display. We have a couple of iPads in the show that have interactive elements. But on the wall behind we have a near life-size projection of a video showing a holographic runway show that Burberry produced for the opening of its Beijing flagship store in April 2011. I'll show you the video here. What I want you to really pay attention to in this video is not only the technological innovation of the holograms and the drama and dynamism of them on the stage. But I want you to take a look during the wider panning shots, how the members of the audience are all holding up their smartphones, if you notice, and recording the performance as it happens. These videos, even before Burberry had a chance to post this official video online to its own YouTube channel, these different audience members posted their individual videos to YouTube, and the event quickly went viral. What this shows, and what we wanted to highlight with the inclusion of this video, is how Burberry particularly is really on the cutting edge of integrating social media networks into its global marketing and branding strategy. Not only with its YouTube channel and its use of that, but later in 2011, Burberry became the first company to launch a fragrance on Facebook using the like button. It then also held its first tweet walk on Twitter during its spring 2012 runway presentation. They debuted all of the looks on their Twitter feed with an image seconds before they went down the runway. And what's really interesting is not only was this a great thing for Burberry, sort of getting it out there on their Twitter feed, but it was a great thing for Twitter because Twitter actually had a spike in the highest number of users around the world looking at one Twitter feed at any time. So it shows how not only fashion can have, how technology can have an impact on fashion, but fashion can actually have an impact on technology as well. The exhibition, though, after this first room does move forward chronologically decade by decade. It goes back to the 18th century and moves forward from there to the most current collections. So I'm going to show you a couple of installation shots just to give you an idea of the layout of the show. What you're seeing here is our historic platform, so pieces from about 1780 up to 1860. Then as the exhibition moves forward, we have pieces from the early 20th century, seen here on the right. We have pieces from the mid-20th century with innovations of the zipper, also rayon and different plastics. So here we have a 1960s platform, which really highlights a lot of these new materials like PVC and also injection molding as a technique, but also the sort of futurism coming out then. And then a platform for the 70s, one for the late 20th century, and then a platform dedicated to the last 5 years. The reason I've just sort of blazed through all of these images very quickly, though, is because what Arielle and I wanted to do with you guys here today was, rather than take you through each object and each platform decade by decade and talk about all the innovations, we thought what might be more useful for you guys would be to talk about the 4 themes that we developed as the primary criterion for the pieces that we were going to include in the show. So, and we felt that these, were not only useful tools for us in planning the exhibition, but can be useful tools for you guys in thinking about how technology has had an effect, not only on fashion, but also visual culture in general. So those 4 themes are production, material, aesthetic, and function. So I'm going to pass it over to Arielle now, who's going to talk to you about the first 2, and then I'll be back a bit later on.